Hi, I'm Mary Susan with Jessamine County Adult Education Skills U. Thanks for joining me for my fourth video in this series on algebra word problems, and I'm going to be looking at consecutive numbers. So consecutive numbers are numbers that follow each other in order. So whether you have 25, 26, 27, 28, or 1, 2, 3, it's just numbers that the way you would count them would be consecutive numbers. Consecutive even or odd numbers are the same thing. You just count, if you start with 2 and count by even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8. Or consecutive odd numbers, you just count odd numbers in a row, 3, 5, 7, 9. So let me move that back out of the way for a minute. We're going to look at a consecutive number problem in the next slide. But in this problem, we're going to be looking at a problem with just consecutive numbers. So if 4 consecutive numbers total 106, what is the first number? So consecutive number problems have a pattern or a formula that you must follow that's not written. So you're going to have to remember or memorize that this is the formula that you're going to use to solve consecutive number problems. You'll have x, x plus 1, x plus 2, x plus 3, and you'll need one of these sets for each number that it asks for in the problem. So if we have 4 consecutive numbers, we're going to need all 4 that are shown here because we need 1, 2, 3, 4 to represent the 4 numbers. So I've written that again here because you don't have to use the parentheses when you rewrite it. They've used the parentheses here to group them, but it really makes no difference whether you write them with parentheses or not. So if this is going to equal 106, then the first thing we're going to do is add up how many x's are here on the left side of the problem. So if I have 1, 2, 3, 4 x's, and then what's the number value I have on this side of the problem? I have 1 plus 2 plus 3. So altogether that's 6. So now I have an equation that I'm ready to start doing the opposite operation in order to solve for x. So instead of adding 6 to both sides, if I subtract 6, then here 6 plus 6 minus 6 will equal 0. So I'll only have 4x. And if I take 6 from 106, I'll be left with 100. So then if I separate the 4 from the x by dividing, because this is multiply, so if I divide both sides by 4, 100 divided by 4 is 25. And since the problem says what is the first number, the first number is x, and here I have x is 25. So that's the answer. If you ever get an answer and you think, well, how do I know if that's the answer or not? You can check that. It just so happens that 25 is the first number in the example here. So if I have 4 consecutive numbers, it would mean that 25, 26, 27, and 28 equal 106. So if I add those up, and you should do this on your own also, they equal 106. So I know I've gotten the right answer. So here's that consecutive number problem I told you, even or odd number problem we were going to work. So in the pattern that you have to remember to write down for an even or odd number is x, x plus 2, x plus 4, and so on, x plus 6, x plus 8. And you think, well, how does that make sense? Why would you use the same even numbers if you were looking for an odd number problem? And this is why that works, is because even numbers are spaced 2 apart. So you have 2, if this was a 2, and you had 2 plus 2, that would be 4, and 2 plus 4 would be 6. So if you do the same for odd numbers, if this was a 3, 3 plus 2 is 5, 3 plus 4 is 7, because odd numbers are also spaced 2 apart. So that's why we're using 2, 4, 6. It just happens that those numbers are even, but that's the pattern that you're going to use on whether you have even or odd. You're going to use the same pattern. So here's a problem for us to work. 3 consecutive odd numbers total 99. So let's go back and look. Here's our example of the formula. We have 3 sets here for 3 numbers, and that's going to total 99. So if we add the amount of x's, we'll have 3x, and if we add the amount of the value of numbers, 2 plus 4 is 6. So now I'm ready to start doing the opposite operation in order to find x. So instead of add 6, if I subtract 6 from both sides, 3x will be equal to 93. Then in order to separate the x from 3, I'm going to need to divide by 3, and then x will equal 31. But my question says, what are the 3 numbers? So I'm going to need to give the 3 numbers that are consecutive odd. So if the first one is 31, the second one would be 33, and the third one, 35. So again, if you think, I don't know if that's anywhere near the right number, add the 3 numbers up and see if they add up to the total 99. Let's try this question. 3 consecutive numbers equal 120. What is the largest number? So again, we're going to need to start out with our formula of x, x plus 1, x plus 2. And if that equals 120, we're going to have 3 x's and the value of 3, because 1 plus 2 is 3. That's going to equal 120. So instead of add, if we subtract 3 from both sides, we'll have 3x is equal to 117. So to separate the 3 from the x, which is multiply, we'll divide. If we divide both sides by 3, then 117 divided by 3 is 39. Is that the answer to our problem? X is equal to 39, but they want to know what is the largest number. The largest number is x plus 2. So if we have the amount of x plus 2 more, the answer to the problem will be 41. So make sure you pay special attention to what the question asks to see if when you get x, you're finished with the problem. Okay, so here we have 3 consecutive numbers equal 32, and the second number is twice the first number. The third number is 3 times the first number. What are the 3 numbers? Now, if you start to panic, this is way too much, Just stick with it, and remember, if we're doing consecutive numbers, we're going to start out with the pattern for 3 numbers. So we have 1, 2, 3. Now if it says the second number, which would be this spot, is twice the first amount, we would just have that this is twice the first amount. And the third number, which is this one, is 3 times the first amount. And that's going to equal 32. So let's go through and work the part of the problems that we have so far. The first number was x. Then we have 2 times x and 2 times 1. We're going to add to that 3 times x and 3 times 2. And that's all still going to equal 32. So now let's count up the number of x's we have. We've got 1 plus 2 more would be 3, and 3 more would be 6. So we have 6 x's. And let's count up the value of the numbers we have. We have 2 plus 6. So we have a total of 8. And now we have our equation that we're ready to start to work backwards to find x. So instead of add 8, if we subtract 8 from both sides, that will be 6x, will be by itself, and that will equal 20. I've momentarily lost my train of thought. 32 minus 8 is 24. Then if we divide both sides by 6 to separate 6 from x, x will be equal to 4. So now we need to go back and find the 3 numbers. And although they're going to be consecutive, they're going to be a little bit different this time because we had twice and 3 times. So I've written that part over, that we had x and 2 times x and 3 times x. So now I'm going to put in the number 4 for each one of the x's in the problem. So if I stick a 4 in for each one of those, that will give me the 3 numbers that I'm looking for the answer. So the first number is going to be 4. Okay. So I have 4 for the first number. And then I'm just going to use the order of operations here to solve for the next 2. If I put in 2 and then do 4 plus 1 is 5. And 3 times 4 plus 2 is 6. Then my first number is 4. My second number is 10. And my third number is 18. So those are the 3 consecutive numbers that total 32. So now I have a problem for you to try. You can pause the video and work this problem and then come back and we'll look at it together. So here I've started with the formula for odd numbers that equal 51. If you used the wrong formula or couldn't think of what to start with this and redo your problem, or complete your problem. And if you need more than a hint of just the formula, use the items I have at the bottom of the screen in order to complete your problem. So if I added up the amount of x's that I had in the problem, I had 1, 2, 3, so that would be 3x. And then I had 2 plus 4 is 6, so plus 6 would equal 51. And then I would start to work the problem backwards. So since I have add 6, I would subtract 6. So that 3x would be equal to 45. And then if I divided both sides by 3, x would equal 15. So now the question is, what are the numbers? So I need 3 consecutive odd numbers. And if I start with 15, the next consecutive odd number will be 17 and 19. So there are the 3 numbers that would equal 51. I hope you join me for my next video that will be about age or weight in the future or past, which may sound like a really long name to give to the description of a problem, but if you will join me for the 5th video in this series, you'll see exactly why that's so fitting. Thanks.